Hey everyone, Jordan here. Today we're going to be building an awesome gaming PC around the new RX 9060 XT. We're also going to be talking about why AMD is the smart choice for a gaming PC at the moment with its future compatibility and upgrade path. Then of course we'll run you through all the parts we're using, why we're going to be using them, but for now let's get straight into it and start building. So first of all, we'll get all the components we can onto our motherboard, then we'll get that into the case. The motherboard we're going to be using is the MSI Mag Tomahawk X870 Wi-Fi. I do have a full overview of this board on the channel if you want to check it out in a bit more detail. But we've got loads of I/O options, PCI Gen 5 storage and PCI slot, 40GB Type-C, USB 4 on the back. We've also got Wi-Fi 7, 5GB LAN. Loads of features on this board. It's also at a really good price point as well. The processor we're using today is going to be the AMD Ryzen 7 9700X. This is a Zen 5 8-core 16-thread processor. We've got a base clock of 5.8 GHz with a turbo of 5.5. Now, if you want to save yourself a little bit of money, you can go for the 9600X instead. That is about, I think, £90 cheaper at the time of filming and will be perfectly adequate for the 9060 XT. I don't have one of those, so I'm using the 9700 XT for this video. Now, at the time of filming, Scan Computers UK have also got some bundles on motherboards and processors, so should you want to pick, even for example, the 9700X, they've got a bundle for that. You can save yourself some money there as well. I'll put those links down in the description box below for you to check out. So let's get our processor installed, and then we can move on to our other parts. So let's lift the latch, get that installed, just drop that in like that, give it a wiggle, and bring that down. And don't forget to keep that cover just in case you need to do an RMA on the board. So for memory, we're going to be using Corsair Vengeance RGB DDR5. This is a kit of 6000 MHz. Now this kit was sent out by Scan Computers UK, so thank you to them as well. This is a kit of two 16GB sticks, so 32GB total, but cancel latency 28, so a little bit faster than most memory. You will pay a little bit extra for that, but if you don't want to dabble in the BIOS and tweak settings and try different things to see if it's stable and things like that, there's a great way to get some faster timings without all the hassle. So open slots 2 and 4 on our motherboard for both sides, and then we'll get these installed. Just line up the notch, slide that in, and then click it into place. And then repeat for our second stick. There we go, that's now installed. For storage, we're going to be using the Crucial P310 Gen 4 NVMe. This is available with and without a heatsink for different motherboard options. You have a read of 7100 megabytes per second and a write of 6000 megabytes per second. Now we've got a 2TB version here, but you can get it in a 1TB if you want to save a little bit of money. This is just one they have to send out. So on the Tomahawk, we've got a quick release heatsink. That's also got a thermal pad on the back. Now, being that I'm using a drive that's got a heatsink on it, not very easy to take off either. I'm going to take my thermal pad cover off like so, and then just install that like that, and then just put the quick release latch on and then leave it at that. Now of course, if you're going to do this at home and you want it to be a little bit cleaner, then you could get a drive with that heatsink, and then you can use your motherboard heatsink instead. So that's our CPU, memory, and then storage installed to the motherboard. Now let's have a look at our cooler and get that installed as well. Today we're using the Montage NX400, which is a $27 ARGB cooler. It's got a 28mm fan, a really great affordable option with good cooling potential. I have got a full review on this on the channel if you want to check it out as well. So I'll put this to the side and then get our motherboard ready. So we need to take off the pre-installed mounting brackets. So now we've got the bare socket. One thing I do love about AM5 is the backplate's installed as well, so it's not going to fall out like on AM4. And then we get our mounting things installed. So for this cooler, we've got 4 little standoffs that we'll put in first, and through that standoff, hopefully. There we go. And then screw down, and then just screw it in at the other end as well. Drop of thermal paste on there. I'm using Noctua NTH2. You can obviously use what comes included in the box if you like to. It's in a little grey packet. I personally recommend something a little bit higher quality though. So our fan goes on our heatsink like that. I've had to take it off to actually install the heatsink, but then it's going to go on the right hand side. Then we'll just bring this down on top of the CPU. I've just managed to get those screws to bite with my fingers, and now I'm going to get my screwdriver and do a couple of turns on each screw until it's fully tightened down. Route these up to the top, and then we've got a 4-pin, which will be the left one. And then we've got our RGB connector, which I'm probably going to route at a different point, so I may even bring that back down and into the bottom of the motherboard from the back of the case. It's going to go onto one of those 3-pin headers there though. So that's now everything onto our motherboard. Quickly, what I mentioned about the AM5 socket though, as I said at the start about the upgradability, AMD have said they're going to support this for another 2 years to 2027. So that's new processors being brought out that you can just drop into the same socket and then you're away with your games. Obviously you may need a BIOS update, which can take a few minutes, but if you've got a BIOS flash button, like on the back of this one, all you need after that is a USB stick with a BIOS on it, and then you're good to go. That will update and then support your latest processor without needing to change the motherboard because of a new socket. So I think that's, yeah, no-brainer for AMD at the moment if you are looking to build a gaming PC. And also the DDR5 is the only other mandatory thing for AMD, but these kits have come down a lot in price over the last few months and are fairly affordable anyway now. And then obviously once you're on DDR5, you're on the latest generation of that anyway, so then you can take that to new motherboards going forward as well, should you want to change it down the line. So that is now everything on there. We'll get this installed into our case. We've just got a few parts left to do, and then we can see how it performs. So our case is the Okinos Aqua 7, a full-size ATX case with 6 RGB fans included. A really great price point as well. It's around $60 to $70. So great price to performance. Let's get this open and we'll have a little bit of a closer look. Here we go. So it's kind of a mix between maybe like a Fantex N5 and just traditional kind of aquarium kind of style case with the split glass. So let's have a look. If I lay this down and open it up, we'll have a bit of a look inside. So tempered glass, very thick actually. It's also got a 45-degree edge on there as well to match with the piece on the front here. So inside we've got 2 pre-installed reverse blade 120s. We've got a 120 rear exhaust, and if I tilt this up, then we've got 3 reverse blade 120s at the bottom. So there's the 6 included fans I mentioned. There's our little accessory box. And we've also got the hub there for all of the fans already installed onto there. Then that will just go to, I'm going to guess, a SATA for power, which is there. Quite short cable, but you don't need it that long to be fair. There's also a 4-pin for PWM and a 3-pin for addressable RGB. Now we've got 3 headers on the motherboard. The Tomahawk has 3 by standard, which is really good. Generally you see 2, but we can also add an additional one by a breakout cable, but thankfully we only need 2, so we're going to make cable management nice and easy hopefully for this one. Other cables, we've got front panel connections. We've also got a front panel audio as a Type C and then a USB Type A for the I/O that's on the front of the case down here. Type C, 2 Type A's, and then a headphone microphone combo jack, reset, and then a power button. So now we'll lower our motherboard into place. So you can kind of wiggle it below those fans. There you go. And then hopefully we'll have a little center point, which there is a little nub in the bottom of the case. These ones to install the motherboard. So now let's get onto our power supply. For this one, we're going to be using the Thermaltake Smart BX3 750 watt. This is a 80 plus bronze power supply, non-modular power supply, but that does mean that we get a little bit better value and also still retains a 5-year warranty. So here's all of our cables unraveled. So we've got a couple of SATAs and then also a couple of Molexes on one cable, which is nice and convenient. We've got a 24-pin. We've also got a couple of PCIe 6+2s. We're going to need an 8 for our graphics card. And there's a couple more SATAs. We have a couple of Molex again. And we've got our CPU EPS connector. So there's an 8 and then an 8+4. You can break apart if using a lower power board. Going to be fan side down for this one. We've also got a dust filter in the bottom of the case that you can take out and clean if you need to. So we'll just get this slid into place like so. Get it installed with 4 of these screws. There is some in the case, but you've also got some in your power supply box. Now we're going to start getting some cables put through. So our 24-pin EPS connectors, we'll just separate these out from the rest as they're going to be going in a different direction and pass those through. And lastly, our PCI will be here somewhere. There we go. These will be a little bit tricky to pass through because we have got all of the fans at the bottom of this case, but probably just a little zip tie on there or something just to keep the spare one we're not using nice and snug to the rest of the cable. So let's get these cables connected. We've got our EPS ones. They're going to be at the top of the case. These might be a little bit tricky. They're also going to loop over. And then the other, we'll have to try and tuck that back up as best we can. It's a little bit bulky as it's a daisy chain, but it's not too bad. There we go. We've got our 24-pin. That will just flex over. We need to train this cable a little bit because it's stiff sat in the box. And then we've got our RGB cable that we'll put through the back there. Just try and tidy that up a little bit as well. Put the remainder of the cable down by the DIMM slots. And then we've got space for our graphics card. I also need to just run the front panel through as well, because once you get your graphics card in, it's going to be very tricky to install Not exactly the best thing to do with these fans at the bottom either, so you may want to remove one of those just to make life a bit easier. So that's now everything connected in terms of headers and things like that. I just need to get this tucked around a little bit nicer, like so. There we go, just a little bit of cable management at the back, but now we can get our graphics card installed. For this one, we're going to be using the Sapphire Nitro Plus RX 9060 XT. This card was kindly sent out by Scan Computers UK. We've got the OC edition here, which is currently retailing for around £360. Now, I've already reviewed one of the Gigabyte cards for the 9060 XT, but we saw some really great frames, especially in 1440p. It did surprisingly well with it, and some of the titles, even more intensive ones. If you're happy to use a bit of FSR, you can get some very high frame rates. Now, we'll also be doing a full review of this one as well, so get subscribed and ding the bell so you don't miss when that goes live. But we'll be giving you some general figures of what you can expect from the system at the end, so don't worry if you're wondering about that. So we've just got a single screw to take off to then be able to access our screws there. So we're going to take out the second and third, and then we're going to get our card. Take off your cover off the bottom if you're not using the same model, because it might have a cover on there. Open your latch. Now this MSI board's got a nice little quick release lever just to open that. And we'll get it lined up for a bit of a wiggle. And we'll get our screws back in. And then just a little cover to go back on. There we go. Single 8-pin for this one. So we'll just bring that around. And I'm just going to get a zip tie just to get these extra cables tucked down like that. Keep it a little bit neater. Going to do a little bit of cable management on the back, but then we can see if it posts. Oh yes. Look at that RGB, nice and vibrant. I love the RGB strip along the card as well. That looks really cool. So, got it posted. I'll now get into the BIOS, enable XMP. Then I'll do a nice little close-up montage so we can talk about performance. So on to the conclusion for the build. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet, especially as I've got a full review of the Sapphire 9060 XT coming up, that if you want to see some more detailed figures of what you could expect from that specific card. I'm very happy with how this build's come out. I would recommend that you take the bottom fans out if you're a beginner, just to make life a bit easier. You may also need a small screwdriver to put them back in if you're going to use an air tower too, as you might get some interference, as you can see here. Now the hub on the back of the case is nice for all the RGB that's included. There isn't any additional space though, so you may want to add in the second one if you're maybe using some RGB from an AIO, for example. But it's nice to have that on there, and just to have the PWM header and then the RGB header, just two headers for everything, is really nice. The fans included do move quite a bit of air. Not as much obviously if you were to buy separate fans and then add them in afterwards, but for ones that are included, they're pretty good. Now the NVMe we've put in here is blazingly fast. It's one of their more affordable options in their lineup, so even though it is an affordable option, it's still very quick. That combined with the low latency RAM makes for really snappy opening of games and programs. For our gaming performance, in the testing that I've already done for the 9060 XT, I saw some very good frame rates in 1440p. Like I mentioned, some titles may require some FSR, Cyberpunk and also Starfield, the most two intensive titles in the testing suite. I will put the results from 3D Mark, Still Nomad and also Time Spy on the screen too, which is free to download if you'd like to try them on your own system and compare to this one. Now I want to keep this more of a concise video, but we'll keep this system together for a little while, so if there's anything else you want to know that I haven't covered, then I will test that for you, so just leave a comment for me. But in terms of the AM5 platform, certainly the one to go for. Like I mentioned, don't forget to check out the Scan bundles, especially because you can get some great offers on there, and also then you've got the platform for a potential upgrade in the future, unlike what Team Blue currently offers, which is rather limiting. But all those will be linked down in the description box below. I'll also add the Amazon links down there as well if you're not in the UK, or if you want to get some parts that Scan don't offer. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please get subscribed and ding the bell so you don't miss any future uploads, especially if you want to see some more on the Sapphire 9060 XT. Thank you to the companies that sent out parts for this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.